What's up? I'm Skylar Davis from Culture Shock Clothing and Records right here in Rockford, Illinois. You can find us at cultureshockshop.com, and this is Vinyl Happy Hour. We've got a big theme for this one. It's not just me being crazy, I don't think. There is a lot of power of three, we're calling this. So many records and independent releases and special releases coming out in groups of three. We're also in season 3 of Vinyl Happy Hour doing this show. I'm just going to jump right into it because I'm going to skim a lot of these records tonight just to kind of give you a little lowdown on them, a little more info. First up is Dashboard Confessional. Emo stalwarts, big classics here. 2000, that's whenever they took off, and emo music has been deeper ever since. I was really lucky to see them at Riot Fest a few years ago, but their vinyl's so hard to find. Of course, 2000 stuff's always hard to find, but there's indie store exclusives of all 3 of their first albums, including their Unplugged album. Let's see, we've got Swiss Army Romance right here. The color of the indie store vinyl has nothing to do with the color of the vinyl, so you wouldn't know unless you open it up. That's kind of like a brighter red vinyl one. Their next one, The Places You've Come to Fear the Most, again, that color vinyl sticker doesn't mean anything because it's actually kind of like a clear creamsicle orange inside a clear vinyl. These two both high demand always, but this one especially, it actually came out a couple months ago, but somehow COVID screwed things up. I've been seeing them flipping for huge amounts of money on the internet world, not at your independent record stores though. We are getting a fresh batch in. We will have a link for that if you want to pick it up while it's still available. And then the Unplugged album also, I believe this was a couple years later, yeah, 02. So I think kind of 2000, 01, and 02 these came out originally. I don't know if this has ever been on vinyl. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've ever seen the Unplugged one on vinyl, and that one's the coolest of the colorways because it's kind of this liquidy, melty, orange and clear. But the power of 3, like I said, there's a lot of things I'm going to talk about coming out in triplets or something to do with 3. So the first 3 Dashboard are the first ones I wanted to kind of showcase there. Got a little drink from my season 3. I couldn't find anything 3 related for the bourbon tonight though. I thought about it. The next one is an even older band. This is going back to some classic, the Talking Heads. Let's get these in order of release. Because Rhino Records is doing something for Rocktober where they're doing special limited reissues, and we got the first 3 Talking Heads albums, one of my favorite bands of all time. This first one, Talking Heads 77, you're gonna know Psycho Killer and a bunch of things. It's got a very minimal jacket. I've always been intrigued by the jacket and the limited artwork. I've never seen it on color vinyl. And I was a little disappointed. I thought it was going to be like limey green, kind of like the lettering on here, but I actually really like it. It looks like an authentic Sire Records release from the 70s, and it's on a clear, kind of see-through, translucent green. More songs about buildings and food. This is a Brian Eno-produced album. So they were kind of post-punky, minimal. It doesn't, seem surprising to me that they ended up hooking up with Brian Eno. He did not work on the first album. He did work on the next 2 albums and produce it with David Byrne. So this one's on like a clear red vinyl, kind of themed. You got green going with the first one. This one's very red, obviously. Now this one is probably the coolest packaging-wise of them all. The Fear of Music. This is on silver vinyl. If you can't see on camera, you'll see it when you touch it. This is like diamond plate steel, like embossed jacket. So it's like a raised cardboard. It looks like that steel diamond plate, that you see when you walk on like the Ferris wheel or something. I don't know. Anyway. So it's on silver vinyl. So Rhino Records did a cool job. There's another 3 for you, the first 3 Talking Heads records. These are not indie store exclusives, however, they're mostly featured at indie stores. I'm not even sure if Rhino's selling them online. I think they're just pushing it to independent record stores. So that's pretty cool. The next one I kind of screwed up on. I thought these were the first 3 Death records. It's actually their first 2, and then 1 a few years later. This is the band Death. Their first album, Scream Bloody Gore and Leprosy, and then Individual Thought Pattern was a little bit later in the 90s. But this is a band that started late 80s. This is like of the modern, they're like one of the first bands to bring like technical progressive death metal to the scene. Relapse Records did a really awesome release. They're calling this Pinwheel Splatter Color Vinyl. So each one of these 3 releases on a different color limited pinwheel splatter vinyl. There's like pink and blue. You've got this other one splatter kind of gray white with a little bit of red in it, and then this one really matches the artwork nicely. Leprosy. Even the jackets are nice. This has kind of almost like a gold foil print on it. Just a great job. These first 2 have a little more of like a thrashy feel, kind of this chuggy, thrashy feel. And then later on, they got even more progressive, more death metal. The singer and guitarist, writer of the band, he did die many years ago. So they didn't put out a ton of albums, but everything they did was awesome. So if you haven't listened to Death and you're into thrash metal, death metal, must check them out. But pick up these limited versions while you can. I don't think they're going to be around long. We do have a few of each. But again, these all came in threes. Can't regard that. This one, you can't deny. 3 has something to do with it, because from the Watchmen, you've got Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. Those are the 3 volumes of music. I don't know if it goes to the very end of the show or how that works. I've not heard. I don't think there's any other music or anything related to it. But this is all from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. This is a Trent Reznor project. Of course, you know him from Nine Inch Nails, loads of other soundtracks, Social Network and Bird Box, things like that. But this is amazing music, and if you're a fan of the show, it's a must-have companion piece to go with it all. I don't know if these will be in print very long. I feel like especially trying to collect or get all 3 is going to be getting tough, so get them while you can. The music is great, a lot of ambient and a lot of just interesting music, you know? It's like, it's not rock music, but it's definitely something that goes great with the soundtrack. Super cool that I was able to land all 3 of these. A lot of these, I'm not just showing off just because of the store. I'm a fan of these. I've been a record collector, 20-something years or longer, since I was a kid. 30 years almost, Jesus. Anyway, so I'm just so geeked about these in a very natural way. I'm just kind of showing them off. Let's talk about another 3. Record Store Day got really jacked up and delayed this year because of COVID, so we're actually coming up on Drop 3. They split up the releases into 3 different releases. So there's a 3 for you. Record Store Day 1, 2, and 3. October 24th, here's going to be the 3rd one. I'm just going to show you the 3 releases I picked up, keeping in this power of 3 from last month's Record Store Day. The first one is Camille Yarbrough. Yarbrough? Yeah, Camille Yarbrough. It's always hard to say someone's name out loud when you think it in your head. But this is a really rare kind of funk, soul, spoken word, jazz poetry album. A lot of people are going to know this because of Take Your Praise, which was sampled and used in how does that song go? I can't think of it, but we'll get to it later. But it's just a great one. Fatboy Slim, I've Got to Praise You. I'm not going to sing it, but everyone seems to know this because of that sample. And a sample from some older album can make something a really choice cut. A lot of things have been sampled by movies and artists. But this, even if I hadn't heard that sample, is a great album. She almost reminds me of like maybe the female counterparts of like a Gil Scott-Heron or something like that, with that mixture of funk and jazz, soul, poetry. Originals, super obscure and rare. This is an early 70s piece, I believe. Yeah, on Vanguard Records. Never seen an original. So cool. Let me move on real quick though. That my 3 releases, I'll show you also Susan Siani. I'm also not sure on her name exactly, but she is a really interesting female composer. I'll just break it down real quick. Her music is very calm, soothing, composed piano music. I actually used a cut from this in this art show we did here locally I was working on. It's also great music while I'm organizing my paperwork and paying my bills and just wanted to chill and meditate. That's a good one. And then Coolio, this is a surprising release that I forgot how good it was. This was right at the end of the mid-90s when I was getting out of hip-hop and really, I mean, I've always been into hip-hop, but exclusively, and then I got into more grunge, metal, rock. The funk and soul background on this that I didn't appreciate as a kid stands out to me even more now. I should probably open this up. Because obviously, besides Gangster's Paradise and Too Hot, Cruising. Oh God, there's just so many Smile in it. We got a thing going on. There's so many good songs on here actually, but this is a double LP limited on red vinyl, kind of like a semi-translucent red, dark red. Again, 90s stuff, so hard to find on vinyl, so kudos to Record Store Day every time on the stuff they pull out and reissue or bring out fresh. Here's a release that's actually dropping this week. It's dropping tomorrow. Originals are available on vinyl for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but Tom Petty Wildflowers. The reason I'm going to bring this one into the mix, that's right, we have some other really big news to talk about here. Let me put this here so I don't forget. But this is a triple LP. They're calling this Wildflowers and All the Rest. So this was from '94, classic Tom Petty. Of course, You Don't Know How It Feels and loads of other good songs. Excellent packaging, but the third LP has mostly music that was from the recording sessions that were previously unreleased. Each record also comes with a printed inner jacket and all that good stuff. So they just did a really awesome release on this. But triple LP, you can't deny that. That's going with my triplets, my power of 3. It's just all around me. What's that crazy movie with Jim Carrey where he's seeing 23 everywhere or something? I feel like that because I came up with this idea, and there's so many records here, not just this week, but in the last month or two, that have come up in 3s. Again, we can't deny there's a 3 happening here. Omar Rodriguez Lopez, the man with 3 names, does the Clouds Hill Tapes, Volume 1, 2, and 3. So, we'll get into that later. But you have Volume 1, 2, and 3 on vinyl. And they did a great job because it looks like a big real tape from the recording session. So, each Volume 1, 2, and 3 comes in its own record. I hadn't kept up with Omar Rodriguez lately. If you don't know him, you should know him from vocals and guitarist and writing with At the Drive-In and Mars Volta. He's produced a lot of other people's albums and worked with other bands, done a lot of solo work too. But this, the people he worked with, let me get her name right. Oh my God, the vocalist, who's only I think on mostly like 2 of these albums, Virginia Garcia Alves. She's Spanish, like actually from Spain. Beautiful voice, and they also have a lot of piano and stuff in this too. So the people working with him on this album, or set of albums, is really amazing. It's not anything heavy or screamy or anything like you might have heard in At the Drive-In. It's not nearly as psychedelic or rock derivative as like Mars Volta, but it's like it changes. Volume 1, 2, and 3 are very different. Evidently he had released them a few years ago digitally, but again, unless it's out on wax, I don't usually pick it up or notice it sometimes. There's so much stuff going on the internet. Volume 1 is it's a 45 cut too. So I turned off my phone, turned off everything. I've listened to this twice already, and I really dove into it, and it was amazing. Volume 1 is a little heavier, it's got heavier emotions and a little bit of twinkle of guitar comes through that I would recognize from old Omar. And then the second one is a lot more instrumental, very chill, very kind of just laid back. And the third one gets into almost like more of a shoegazy territory, very interesting. I love the whole set though. It was really interesting, not at all what I was quite expecting. I was expecting something like more psychedelic like or something. I heard that they had played this music at like some festival in Europe, and I was assuming something a little trippier, but I really love what I hear in the recording session. Sounds amazing. It's a very direct sound. So it comes with art prints. This extra jacket holds some photos, let's say, I don't know, 8 by 10, 8 by 12 photos. And they're set up in the studio. I'll just flash through a few of them, pick up a copy. We do have a few of those. Omar Rodriguez, also him and all the bands he's worked with are notorious for having their records out of print or hard to get or only through the artist or something. So there's some stuff from them that I don't have, and I regret not getting it because now it's either impossible or expensive. So that's that. The Cloud Hill Tapes, Volume 1, 2, and 3. Let's jump into this, unrelated, take a quick break. Let's talk about Sick Horse. This is a great coercive band from a local group. Especially we know Mossy and Derek Luttrell, who've been in, they worked with Taboo Blah Blah, Name the Moon, and several other bands. Derek Luttrell's had several solo albums as well. But they are putting out a brand new album, a CD, and it's got exclusive tracks on it. This is a Culture Shock exclusive. Each one is numbered even. There's only 100 of them available. This is number 0. This is the store copy, I guess, let's say. But there are 100. We're taking pre-orders for this right now. I forgot to mention this with Record Store Day because this is actually coming out on Record Store Day. It'll be available at our store for Record Store Day, inside Culture Shock, and at cultureshockshop.com. Local bands and all bands and music labels have been just taking a slaughtering during this COVID stuff, not being able to play. So it's really cool to see some local bands or smaller bands, especially like these guys. They head down to Nashville. The recording and the songs on here are so spot on and so intimate sounding, just great mixture of just intimate rock, kind of this kind of countrified Nashville feeling. There's a lot of nice piano and even a banjo guitar in it. Derek's vocals are just so like right in the speakers. Like you can just hear every word he's speaking, just right from his soul. So it's been great. I've listened to this a few times already. There was a few bonus tracks on here as well, but they aren't selling the CD on their own, on their website or at any shows or anything like that. They want to work with us collectively to have a release that you can only get at your local independent record store at Culture Shock. So thanks to them for working with us on that. I will also point out, besides just doing 100 copies of this limited in our store only, they've been doing some live streams and some shows also online. So find Sick Horse online. We'll get some links to them into the CD. But I love the big shout out on the back. Oh, I forgot who sings on this one track too. She's got a great voice too. But you've got to check out the whole album. And they do a special thank you to Lord Skylar Davis, owner of Culture Shock Clothing and Records, so for the limited 2020 CD release. So that was pretty cool. We're going to be sharing that with you too, and hopefully you pick up a copy from us. Even if you don't live here, you can get them shipped to you. Moving on to the Power of 3, though, I have just a couple more. Like I said, I could have gone deeper with this, but I have 3 bands in my repertoire. You know, I'm into a lot of 90s stuff and grunge and metal and a big variety of things, even some jazz. These are 3 kind of more like indie, folk, lighter bands that I really dig. They kind of fall into my, what do you call it, the mellow dad rock category or something like that. So the first one is going to be, and this is on Merlot colored vinyl. This is the Waterfall 2. It should have been the Waterfall 3 if we're keeping with 3s, but there's 3 bands that I'm talking about. They did this release on, it's like this splattery burgundy. They're calling it Merlot vinyl though. So all 3 of these I should mention are indie store exclusives, only available at independent record stores. But this is a great sounding album from them. It's been a couple years. I know their singer has also done some solo projects. This has this cool kind of soulful mix with like this Pink Floyd chill vibe, like a really kind of psychedelic guitar that kind of hangs over some of it with these really nice high vocals ringing in. Just a great release from them. Dawes, this is another kind of something that's just easy to chill to, listen to anytime. Good Luck with Whatever. This is an indie store exclusive, also printed inner sleeve. Let's see, sometimes they have special names for the colors. This is just yellow marble vinyl. They did a couple thousand copies. But this is Good Luck with Whatever from Dawes on like this kind of very marble, very extra splattery color vinyl. Really cool coloration, just a great album to listen to, just chill. Again, very heartfelt sounding lyrics, just a good group of guys just making a good indie rock album. And then this is The Gleam 3, 12 years in the making, they say, from the Avett Brothers, an indie store exclusive, although it is on black vinyl. What makes it an indie store exclusive is that it comes with this little poster or what have you. So that's cool that they included some little extra artwork just for independent record stores. Just want to show that off. If you haven't listened to them yet, check out the Avett Brothers. They're very folky Americana, a lot of great instrumentation, really great, kind of this energetic but sad countryed out vocals, you know, however you want to put that mix together. But those are my 3 kind of, like I said, lighter bands or lighter releases that have just dropped here recently. Oh, how many 3s can I go into? This is another 3. I've got just a couple more sets of 3 things. Static X. This is going back to some 90s metal, 20-year anniversary of Wisconsin Death Trip. But they put out 3. They reissued that, and then there's a new album, but in 2 different versions. So I'm really stretching the 3 because I just had to include that their original album got reissued. But this is Project Regeneration Volume 1. And there's no labels or anything on it for being on color vinyl, but there's 2 different versions. And if you look at the little UPC code back here, these little numbers, that's a good clue. Most bands and releases sticker it so you know what you're looking at or what you're looking for. This is a really cool zombie vibrant green, something like that. This album really tricked me though. This is a good heavy album. I didn't know what it was at first because I was like, I thought it was Wayne Static, which they've got a great tribute to him here. He just passed away a few years ago, I think 2014 or so. So the band hasn't really done much for a while. They have a new vocalist. I don't know where he's at on this. He produced it. I don't know if the story of how this album came together, but it sounds like I'm listening to the original Static X. It sounds just like it. It's like this new metal, industrial vibe, very heavy, very cool. This album, like I said, it'd be very easy to think it's black vinyl. There's no labels or stickers letting you know what it is. We ordered these like limited edition versions, so we have both variants. This is like a marbled electric black and blue vinyl. So they did 2 versions. It's also on black. I guess you could say there's 3 versions of it because of that, but we always get the limited and indie store exclusives first. This seriously sounds like Static X, and they actually have, you know, the coming to life, the first song, Regeneration. It sounds like they're bringing, you know, like Frankenstein to life or something. They're actually using some of Wayne Static's vocals and lyrics and things that he had been working on when he passed away. So that's why it sounds like it's the original other members of Static X also working with their new vocalist. So the parts where he mixes in with the original vocalist, I can't tell. It sounds like a straight up Static X album. And it's a lot of fun, actually. It's a pretty good album, pretty heavy. And I think for my final 3 here, we're just going to drop in. And again, a lot of these are going to be in our staff pick section at cultureshockshop.com. Some of them may be limited or maybe sold out already. I was going to do, this is 3 different covers albums. So I'll just start with this first one. This is a compilation of Black Sabbath covers from Sacred Bones record label, Zola Jesus, Molchat Duma, Moon Duo, and Thou. There's a very interesting collection of people doing Black Sabbath songs on here. The Soft Moon is doing like more electronic versions. This is stuff from Sabbath's first 2 or 3 albums mostly. Hillary Woods, Thou, Marissa Nadler. She has a very haunting covers. It's just plain white inner sleeves, plain vinyl. But it's just cool to hear Black Sabbath songs done so differently by artists who are very different than your typical metal, stoner, doom sound. Some of these artists, I think there's a Russian band also. The female vocalists, some of them do these really haunting renditions that are very stripped down, very minimal, very cool. And then you got a couple metal bands, but they're like black metal or different. But anyway, that's cool. There was going to be 3 Sabbath covers, but we sold out of 1. But I've got a different covers one I'm going to show off last with really awesome packaging. Let's just get to this next one though. Zach Sabbath, Vertigo. Zach Wild from Black Label Society. He was also Ozzy's guitarist for a good many years. He does a cover of Sabbath's first album. So this is going to be a lot more Sabbathy. We have a different color now that's going to be available. This one is sold out, but let's show it off on like this bright yellow vinyl. This is cool because it's on the Vertigo label, or they have a Vertigo print on the label, I should say, which was Sabbath's original record label. But yeah, so he actually, you know, he's got the blessings of Ozzy and Sabbath guys. So this band that he put together for this Zach Sabbath thing is a lot more Black Sabbath-y sounding. But it's just cool to hear someone else doing some Black Sabbath covers. This last release is so cool. Magnetic Eye Records put this out. This is called Dirt Redux, redone of Alice in Chains' Dirt. And the packaging was kind of confusing at first because it doesn't really say anything. It doesn't say that it's Alice in Chains music anywhere. It just says, you know, it says Magnetic Eye Recordings, classic albums reimagined. So they're doing some different variations of this. It says Dirt Redux. So on the outside, there's a little tiny sticker that says Alice in Chains reimagined by these bands. Let's pull this out. It's really tight in here though, especially with the shrink wrap. But they did 2 different color variants of it. Also, this is so cool. This outer jacket has the Magnetic Eye logo die cut. This is just kind of like a little slip cover for the actual album. But the actual album has reimagined artwork from Alice in Chains' Dirt. It is a gatefold. It's got all the bands listed down. There's some really interesting covers on here. Them Bones from Thou. Wow, that's interesting that Thou did this and a Black Sabbath cover. Who else? Oh yeah, Chemist. So there's a lot of good metal bands on here. There's several bands I didn't know prior to listening to this, but check this out. There's a blue version and the yellow version. So it's kind of like this translucent. Kind of reminds me of Alice in Chains had a CD, actually, with like this clear yellow kind of CD, the plastic jewel case. But double LP of Dirt redone. Those are my 3 cover albums to go with this, the ending of the power of 3. I think we mentioned Tom Petty too. A lot of times people talk about, I've heard about 3s being a negative thing or like bad things happen in 3s. So I kind of wanted to show off, hey, there's some good things happening in 3s. There's a lot of good 3s. Of course, Record Store Day 3 drop coming up here October 24th. Check that out. Those will also be available online at the end of the day. And check out a new Vinyl Happy Hour video every week from us. We'd love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Culture Shock Rockford. And also, what is that? YouTube.com. Yeah.
/
Culture Shock Rockford. Thank you. I was like, I don't know. And then also find us on Facebook and Instagram. Give us some likes, some follows if you like what we're doing. Also, let's get a comment idea going. What are check out the Record Store Day list coming out, or Black Friday Record Store Day list. Give me a comment of your 3 records you're most looking forward to get. I'd love to see what the kind of comments we get and what you're going to be looking for. I was going to mention 3 records I'm looking for at Record Store Day, but that'll be for another video. Next Vinyl Happy Hour. Until then, guys, thanks so much. Cheers.